Hello and welcome to your first session. Today we're starting with the shoulders because the shoulders are the most important joint when it comes to bouldering. The shoulders are obviously helping you hang, helping you stay closer to the wall or even go higher on the wall. And because we use the shoulders so often and so much as boulderers, they are also a place where we love to develop tension and imbalances, maybe pain and even injuries over time. So we have 3 different goals today. The first one is to develop shoulder basics, so understand the basic movements of the shoulders. The second one is shoulder awareness and mind-muscle connection, so to know how the shoulders should feel in the different positions and how they should feel when you're bouldering, what you should be aware of when you're bouldering. And the third one is tension release. So there I'm going to show you a couple of stretches that you can do also before or after you're climbing, and that are going to help you release some of the stiffness in the shoulders and maybe prevent the building up of tension and of injuries over time. So I hope you enjoy. Let's get started. So we are starting in a comfortable seated position. This can be either sitting on your knees, cross-legged, or sitting on a block or a cushion. What is important is that you can keep your spine long and your chest open without having any tension in your lower back. So we are starting with some protraction and retractions. I'm going to show you first what it looks like and then we can do it together. So for this, I can either have my arms in front of me or on the side. And we're going to start with a protraction. So the protraction, I'm going to push my arms forward, pulling my shoulder blades apart from each other. So like if I'm pushing something away from me. And what is important is the rest of my body isn't moving. So I'm not rounding the back, I'm not opening the chest. I'm activating the core, keeping a long spine, and just pushing my arms forward. And the retraction is pulling my shoulders back. So I'm keeping my spine long, and if you imagine you have a chair behind you, you're pushing your shoulder blades against the back of the chair. So do this with me. You can either have your hands like this, or you can change over time if you notice your arms are tired. So on your exhale, you're going to push your arms forward in a protraction, and then inhale, pull the shoulder blades back. Make sure the rest of the spine, the chest and everything is not moving. The whole movement is coming from the shoulders. Exhale again, protraction, pushing something away from you. And then retraction, pulling the shoulders back and pressing them against the chair behind. One last time. Exhale, protraction. And inhale, retraction. And exhale, release. Shake your shoulders a little. Now we are moving on to some elevations and depressions of the shoulders. So I'll show you again. The elevation is like when you're cold or you're shrugging, basically pulling your shoulders up close to the ears. And then for the depression, you're pushing the shoulders down as far away as you can from the ears. Okay, let's do this together. And this time the shoulders are not forward or back, so they're just in a neutral position and you're just lifting and lowering. So get ready. And then on your inhale, you're lifting the shoulders close to the ears, squeezing them as high as you can. And then exhale, push them down, create some space around your ears. Again, inhale, lift your shoulders up, and exhale down. You can release your arms. So we're going to combine them a little bit and create some circles. So I'll show you quickly. Basically on your exhale, so we're starting with the shoulders down in depression. And then exhale, I'm going to come in protraction. And then staying in protraction, I'm lifting the shoulders up in a shrugging. So here I'm protracting and elevating the shoulders. Then on my inhale, I'm going to retract the shoulders keeping the shrug, and then lower the shoulders in a retraction. And then again, exhale, protraction, elevation, and inhale, retraction and depression. Here, do it together. So get ready. And then exhale, protract, push something away from you. And then shrug, shoulders close to the ears. Inhale, retraction, pushing the chair behind you, keeping the shrug. And then depress the shoulders, pushing them away from the ears, but still pushing the chair behind you. Again, exhale, protraction, elevation, inhale, retraction, and depression. One last time. Exhale, protraction, shrug, and then inhale, retraction, and then stay here. And I want you to notice here where you feel the tension, where you feel the activation. So typically here, the activation is mostly in the upper traps, in the neck area, in the shoulder blade area. And then now do the depression, keeping the retraction, but depressing the shoulders, and feel where the activation is now. So typically it's more in the middle back, in the traps. And we're going to do this again. So keeping the retraction, shrug the shoulders up. Notice where the tension is. And now slowly lower the shoulders down and see where the tension moves towards, which muscles are activated. And you can release the arms, shake them if you need. So what I wanted to show you with this exercise is which muscles are used depending on where the shoulders are. That you can completely influence which part of your back you're using with your shoulders. Because there is one thing that climbers usually do when they're on the wall. If it's difficult to hold yourself to the wall, or if there's a difficult movement, they tend to activate everything they can and stiffen up. And then they usually automatically lift the shoulders close to the ears. And then pull themselves like this, or in overhang be like this. And that's why climbers tend to develop stiffness and imbalances in the shoulders over time. So next time you're climbing, I challenge you to think about where your shoulders are and to really think about depressing the shoulders while you're pulling yourself to the wall, because then all the work goes into the middle back and the traps, and they are a lot stronger, so they can handle that amount, and they can also make it a lot easier to pull yourself closer to the wall. So now we're going to integrate these shoulder basics in a little mobility flow. So I'll show it to you first, and then you can do it with me. And then we'll do this on the other side. So let's do this together. So I'm going to inhale, come onto your knees. Here we're activating the core, squeezing the glutes. Then when we exhale, we're going to reach our arms forward in protraction, slowly and controlled until you're all the way up. And then on the next inhale, you're depressing actively the shoulders down. And then exhale, come back onto your knees, and we're opening the hands. So the hands are looking forward, and we're lowering the elbows down in a cactus position. Here, I don't want you to open the chest too much. I want you to actually keep the core tight and just lower the elbows to the side and really focus on depressing the shoulders. So then we're going to place the right hand next to us. What is important here, the right hand is on the same level as your knees. So your hand is on one line with the knee, and then when you're reaching with the left hand over your head and putting the left foot next to you, the foot, the knees, your hips, and the hand are in one line. If you notice that your hips are coming back, You can place a block or a book or anything you want under the hand, because that's going to help you keep your hips forward so everything is in one line. And we're reaching with this hand. So here, to focus with the breath, we're going to exhale lower, inhale, come here, and then exhale, we're going to depress actively this shoulder. And then on the next inhale, we're going to open to the ceiling. So try to open the chest towards the ceiling, look towards the ceiling, and then exhale, come back onto your knees. So do this on the other side. Take away the block for me. So inhale, come onto the knees. Exhale, protract, round the back, reach forward with the arms. And then inhale, depress the shoulders. Exhale, cactus the arms, come back onto your heels. Inhale, left hand next to you, reach up with your right hand. Exhale, depress the shoulder of the right arm. And then inhale, open the chest, look towards the ceiling. And exhale, back to center. Gonna do a second time each side. Inhale up. Exhale, protract the shoulders, round the back. Inhale, depress the shoulders. Feel the activation in your back. And exhale, come back on your heels, cactus the arms. Inhale, right hand next to you, reach up with the left hand, gate pose. Exhale, depress the shoulder. Inhale, open the chest, look towards the ceiling, feel the nice stretch on the side of your body. And exhale, back to center. Other side. Inhale up. Exhale, protract the shoulders, reach forward, all the way up. And inhale, depress the shoulders. Exhale, cactus the arms, come on your heels. Inhale, left hand next to you, reach with the right hand in a gate pose. Exhale, depress the shoulder. Inhale, open your chest, look towards the ceiling, and exhale, back to center. So the second thing I want to talk about with the depression of the shoulders is, as we just did like this, when we were here, we depress the shoulders. And that is a really important movement also when you're bouldering, especially in your overhang, because a lot of injuries happen also when you're hanging and you're not activating the lats. So you're not in a depression, you're just like hanging like this, or even in an elevation. That's when the shoulder is least stable. And that's also when a lot of injuries happen, because the shoulder is not held together by the activated muscles, and then it can come out. And that is usually the typical kind of injuries that can happen. So when you're in an overhang, really think of actively depressing the shoulders like we just did. Okay, so this was the mobility part of the class. Now we're going to start with our more yoga vinyasa part of the class. So we're going to do some more standing. So we're going to come in a standing position at the... Okay, now we are going to come in a tabletop position. So the hands are shoulder wide apart, the knees are hip wide apart. And we're going to do some cat and cows. So on your inhale, you're going to arch the back, look up, depress and retract the shoulders. And exhale, round the back, push through your palms, pull the navel in, depress and protract the shoulders. Inhale, arch the back, retract the shoulders, look up, and exhale, round the back, look towards your navel, pull the navel in. Again, you can flow with your own breath, taking your time to really feel the difference between the protraction and the retraction for the activation of the back, and then stretching the whole back. And one last time. Come back into neutral tabletop. Here we're going to learn a mini sequence that is called a Ashtanga Namaskar. So what we're going to do is we're going to arch the back like we just did, but instead of looking up, you're going to look in front. I'll show you the sequence first and then you can do it with me. So I'm looking in front of me, turning my arms so that the inner side of the elbow is showing forward. And then keeping the arms like this, I'm bending my arms, keeping the elbows close to my ribs, and I'm lowering my chin and chest towards the ground. I'm not lowering them to the ground, I'm hovering over the mat. And then I'm going to shift my weight forward so I can lower the hips behind me, open my chest and come in a baby cobra. And then I push myself up and send my hips into child pose. And back into tabletop. You can do this together. So tabletop position, look in front, turn the inner side of the elbows forward, arch the back, and then here you're keeping a depression in the shoulders. Really focus on keeping the depression the whole time. We're bending the arms, bringing the chin and chest to the ground. This is a really good movement to compensate for all the pulling too. And then inhale, shift the weight forward, lower the hips, and look forward. So here, you're pulling your elbows backwards, so the elbows are facing towards the wall behind you. You're pressing your hips into the mat, your feet into the mat, you're squeezing the glutes, and you're really depressing and retracting the shoulders. So you're opening the chest and looking slightly in front of you so the neck is in a neutral position. And then push yourself up and come into child pose. This one is a really good stretch for the whole back, the shoulders. So you can take a moment here. If you want, you can focus on your breath. So you notice every time you breathe in, your rib cage expands, creating some space. And every time you breathe out, you can maybe sink a little deeper towards the mat. One last breath. And then on your next inhale, you're going to round the back and roll into tabletop. Very nice. Take your tabletop position again, and we're going to repeat Ashtanga Namaskar. This time I'm going to try to flow fast enough to synchronize with the breath, and always keep in mind the depression of the shoulders. So you're going to inhale, arch the back, look slightly forward. Exhale, chin and chest to the ground. Elbows close to the ribs. Inhale, shift the weight forward, lower the hips to the ground, roll the shoulders back, shoulders away from the ears, and then exhale, push yourself up and back into child pose. Inhale, round the back and roll into tabletop. Very nice. One last time. Inhale, arch the back, look slightly forward, depress the shoulders. Exhale, shin and chest to the ground. Inhale, shift the weight forward, baby cobra. And exhale, push yourself up and into child pose. Take a couple of breaths in child pose again. Stretching the back and the shoulders. If you want to increase the stretch, you can try to send your hips a little closer towards your heels and at the same time walk your hands a little further. So you're really lengthening the whole back. Feeling a nice stretch. And try to relax your shoulders. And then you can walk your hands towards your knees and come in a seated position on your heels. So this is the end of the first part of the class, which was more about mobility and shoulder basics. And now we are coming to the more yoga vinyasa part of the class. So we're coming in a standing position at the front of the mat. So we are starting with some sun salutations. The sun salutations are a sequence of yoga poses that you can find in basically any vinyasa yoga class. And the advantage of this sequence is that it's a full body sequence. So we're activating and slightly stretching everything in the body. And then we're going to adapt this sequence, depending on the different class, to change and shift the focus on different body areas, on different skills. So I'm going to teach you the sun salutation A today. So really taking the time to learn the fundamentals. So I'm going to show you once how the sequence looks like, and then we're going to go through it together. So I'm basically starting in the mountain pose. And I'm going to inhale, raise my arms. This is extended mountain pose. Then I'm going to fold forward. Halfway lift. So I'm flattening my back, looking slightly forward. Then hands on the mat, and I'm stepping back into plank. Here in plank, dropping the knees, arch the back. Doing the Ashtanga Namaskar that we did before. So this one you know quite well. And then at the end, I'm pushing into downward facing dog, so not into child pose. Look between the hands, bending the knees, stepping back into forward fold. Halfway lift. Back to forward fold. And then raising the arms, extended mountain pose and mountain pose. Okay, so we're going to do this together. What is really important and what I really want you to focus on today is the shoulder depression, because we're going to train our mind and our body first to be aware of where the shoulders are, so that when you're on the wall, then there are some moments where suddenly you think, okay, where are my shoulders? What are my shoulders doing? And you can think back to what we did and depress the shoulders, so we're preventing the stiffness. And second, so that the mind and body automatically get rid of this reflex of shrugging, but also get more used to having this shoulder depression and maybe take this new position as default position when you're working out, when you're climbing and doing yoga. So you can do it with me now. So we're starting in a mountain pose. So at the front of your mat, your feet are hip wide apart, parallel to each other. We're having a slight bend in the knees, but just slightly, so you're not locking out, you're just slightly bending them, squeezing the glutes, activating the core, so really bracing the core. We're opening the chest, depressing the shoulders, and hands are facing forward. Here you want to imagine that there's a string that's pulling you from the top of your head, so you're lengthening the spine, making yourself as long as you can, keeping the activation in the rest of the body. And then I'm going to inhale, raise the arms over your head, keeping the depression in the shoulders. And then exhale, fold forward from the hips. In forward fold, Your shoulders are relaxed, your head and your neck are relaxed. I want you to bend the knees as much as you need so that your hands can be on the mat. Once your hands are on the mat, you can start to extend the legs until you feel a stretch in the hamstrings, in the calves, and try to slightly open the chest, so bringing the lower belly towards the thighs in your forward fold. Very nice. And then you're going to inhale, find a halfway lift, so your hands are placed on the shins. You flatten the back, open the chest, deep press the shoulders, and look slightly forward. Here we have a isometric hold and stretch, so the stretch should be a little more intensive on your legs, so you can extend them a little more. And the fact that you're holding with the legs and stretching them at the same time is really good to increase the flexibility of our hamstrings and our calves. And then exhale, fold forward, placing the hands on the mat. And then we're stepping back into plank. So for plank, your fingers are spread. You're pushing through the palms, so you're actively protracting the shoulders and keeping them in depression. And then you're activating the core, pulling the navel in, squeezing the glutes, extending the legs. Make sure everything is activated. And then here to make sure you're protracting, first relax the shoulders, let yourself sink into the shoulders, and then push the mat away from you, protracting the shoulders. Very nice. And then you can drop the knees, arch the back, and then we're doing Ashtanga Namaskar. So shin and chest to the ground, keeping the depression in the shoulders, and then shift the weight forward, hips on the ground, and you can come in your baby cobra, rolling the shoulders back. Elbows are facing behind, retracting the shoulders, squeezing the glutes, and here you're actually pushing the hips into the mat and your feet into the mat, opening the chest. Try to really pull your chest as far up as you can without using too much of your hands. You're really using the back. And then we are pushing ourselves up in downward facing dog. So here you have two options. Either you keep your toes pointed until your hips are up and then you come into downward facing dog. Or you can tuck the toes while you're in cobra and then push yourself up into downward facing dog. So this depends also on what hurts your feet, and you can find your variation. In downward facing dog, I really want to focus on the upper body today. So like in plank, we're spreading our fingers, pushing through our palms, so we're protracting the shoulders and depressing the shoulders. And you want to try to have the inside of your elbows facing forward. Usually it's not possible, or it's really difficult to do that in downward facing dog, but I want you to activate this rotation in your shoulders, like if you want to have the inner side of your elbows facing forward. And then we're keeping our back flat, trying to lift our hips as high as we can. Don't worry about your legs. So first you can bend your legs as much as you need so you have a flat back. So what I don't want to see is this. I want you to bend the knees as much as you need so you can flatten the back, push through the palms, and then you can start to extend the legs until you feel a stretch behind the legs. Then we look between the hands, bend the knees, and step forward into our forward fold. Legs are bent, and you can relax your head, your shoulders, and your back. And then extend your legs as much as you can until you feel a stretch in your legs. Then inhale, halfway lift, look slightly forward, hands on the shins, open the chest, deep press the shoulders, and then exhale, fold forward, relax the shoulders. And then inhale, raise your arms to the side, and we're coming in our extended mountain pose. Arms over your head, squeezing the core, depressing the shoulders, and exhale, lower the arms. Very nice. Now we're doing this a second time, a little bit faster, so we're flowing really with the breath, one movement per breath. And I'm going to not tell you to depress the shoulders, so I really want you to try to remember it on your own this time. Really try to get used to having this reflex of thinking, where are my shoulders, okay? So we're starting in mountain pose. Inhale, raise your arms over your head, extended mountain pose. Exhale, fold forward from the hips. Inhale, halfway lift, hands on the shins, open your chest, flatten the back. Exhale, hands on the mat, step back into plank. Inhale, push through the palms, activate the plank. Exhale, drop the knees, arch the back, shin and chest to the ground. Inhale, shift the weight forward, baby cobra. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Drop the knees. And then we bring our hips onto the heels and we're coming in our child pose. Take a moment here in child pose, feeling the stretch in your back. Very nice. So now we are starting with some variations of the sun salutation. So you're going to tuck the toes, send the hips to the sky, coming downward facing dog. Look between your hands, bend your knees, and then step into forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, raise the arms, extended mountain pose, and exhale, lower. So we are doing a variation. So this time I'm going to inhale and bend your knees, sending your hips back, coming in a chair pose. Arms are extended in front of you. So this is chair pose. Your weight is on the heels. You're opening your chest. And then exhale, try to lower the hips a little bit more. Inhale, cactus the arms like we did at the beginning of the class. Bring the elbows back. Just open the chest. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. And then exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands to the ground and step into plank. Inhale, push through your palms. And exhale, drop the knees, arch the back, shin and chest to the ground. Inhale, shift the weight forward, baby cobra. Hands next to the chest, and we're pushing ourselves into downward facing dog. Here in downward facing dog, we're going to add some pedaling with your feet. So you're staying in the same position. You're just alternating one foot after another, pulling the heel towards the ground. Bring a little bit more of dynamic movement in our downward facing dog to warm up a little bit more the back of the legs, to increase the blood flow. But don't forget to push through your hands and to keep the whole back activated. And then you're coming back into your normal downward facing dog. And we're stepping the right foot between the hands. So here, either you can do it directly, or if your foot just comes here, you can use your hand and walk the foot forward until it's between the hands. We're coming in a low lunge. I'm going to show you first the exercise that we're going to do. It's called shoulder cars, and then you can do it with me. So I'm going to inhale, raise the arms. Exhale, lower the left hand to the inner side. If this feels complicated or uncomfortable in the hips, you can also place a block or a book under the left hand. Then I'm going to inhale, look towards the right hand, and then exhale, lower the right hand, keeping the palm facing away from me as far as I can. And then when it's parallel to the ground, I'm turning it around so the palm is facing the other way. And then I'm lowering and crossing the arm behind me. On my next inhale, I'm pulling this shoulder in this direction, so backwards. I'm opening my chest towards the ceiling. And then exhale, lower the hips towards the ground. So I'm pushing here a little bit further down. And then inhale, extend the right arm behind. Again, the back of my hand is facing in front. And then I'm turning it around, reaching up, and then placing the hand back. Okay, let's do this together. So inhale, raise the arms, keeping the shoulder in depression. Exhale, lower the left hand. Inhale, lift the right hand up, look towards the right hand. And exhale, lower the right arm. Palm is facing in front of you. Turn it around and cross behind. Inhale, pull the shoulder back, open your chest towards the ceiling. And exhale, push your hips a little deeper. And then inhale, extend the arm all the way up to the ceiling. And exhale, back into low lunge. Doing this a second time. Inhale, raise the arms. Exhale, lower the left hand. Inhale, reach up with the right hand, look towards the sky. And exhale, circle back and cross behind your back. Inhale, pull the shoulder back. And exhale, lower the hips. Inhale, extend the arm behind you. Circle all the way up. And exhale, hand next to the mat. We're extending the back leg, stepping back into plank. Drop the knees and come into child pose. Take a moment in child pose to calm down, to reconnect with your breath. Notice the difference between both shoulders, maybe. So repeating this on the other side, and then we'll be done for the most intensive part of the class. Then we just have a couple of stretches. So we're tucking the toes, coming in a downward facing dog. Here you can again pedal with your feet. Continue to push through your palms, protracting the shoulders, inside of the elbows, facing forward. And then we're going to step the left foot between the hands, drop the back knee, and we're going to repeat on the other side. So if you need a block or a book, you can prepare it. And then we're going to inhale, raise the arms over your head, keeping the shoulders in depression. Exhale, lower the right hand. Inhale, lift the left hand, look towards the left hand. And exhale, lower the left arm and cross it behind you. Inhale, open the chest, pull the shoulder back. And exhale, sink a little deeper into the hips. Inhale, extend the left arm back, all the way up towards the ceiling. And exhale, hand to the mat. Repeating this a second time. Remember also always to keep pushing through the right shoulder. So we're not sinking into the shoulder, we're actively pushing it away from us, protracting it basically, while we're doing the movements with the other arm. Inhale, raise both arms over your head. Exhale, lower the right arm. Inhale, reach up with the left hand. And exhale, lower the left arm. And cross behind you. Inhale, pull the left shoulder back, look towards the ceiling. And exhale, let your hips sink deeper. Inhale, extend the arm behind, all the way up. And exhale, hand to the mat in a low lunge. We're extending the back leg, stepping the front foot into plank, and then dropping the knees and coming into child pose. Very nice. So that was the hardest part of the class. Now we're ending with a couple of stretches to release some of the tension in your neck and in your shoulders from climbing. So we're starting in child's pose and keeping the same position. You're just going to walk your hands to the left side of the mat. So you should be feeling a nice stretch all the way on the right side of your body, the right side of your shoulder, maybe the right lat. And every time you inhale, try to expand the right side of your body, feeling the stretch. Breathing into the stretch. And then you can walk your hands to the other side. Last deep breath. And then we're coming back into child pose. Deep breath in and a deep breath out. And you can walk with your hands towards the knees to come in a seated position. Now we're going to continue with some eagle arms. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend both arms to the side, palms are facing up, and we're going to cross the right arm over the left arm, and then we're going to either place the back of the palms against each other, or if you can even more, you can twist even more so the palms of the hands are against each other. It's not important how far you twist as long as you feel a stretch. So here we're going to depress the shoulders, push them down, and then at the same time we're slightly going to lift the elbows up until you feel a nice stretch on your right shoulder blade. And then we're breathing into the stretch. So every time you breathe in, you can feel the stretch and intensifying a little bit because you're expanding the upper chest. And then exhale. Notice the space that you've created. Do this for another breath. And exhale, release. You can shake your shoulders a little if you want to. And then we're going to repeat on the other side. So we're extending both arms. And this time we're crossing the left arm over the right arm. And then choose a variation like this or like this. Depressing the shoulders and then lifting the elbows up. And breathing into the stretch. Last breath. And then you can let go of your hands. And you can walk your hands forward to come in a tabletop position. Here, make sure that your hips are over your knees. And keeping the hips over knees, we're just walking the hands forward to come in our puppy pose. So here we're letting our chest sink towards the mat, opening the chest, the shoulders. And every time you breathe out, you're allowing your chest to sink a little deeper. What I want you to do is to keep a little bit of tension in your shoulders. So I want you to slightly press your hands, the palms, against the mat. And every time you exhale, you're lowering a little more. And then you can walk your hands back. And now we have our last stretch, which is the fish pose. So here, if you have a block, take the block. If you don't have a block, you can take a pillow or a back roll, something like that. And we're going to place it behind us so that we're going to lie on the block. So the block is between the shoulder blades, and we're allowing the whole chest here to open. Release the tension in the chest and allowing the shoulders to become heavy. So we're countering all the tension that is created in the front of the body when we climb. The hands are next to your hips and the palms are facing up. If you want to add a hip opening, you can place the sole of your feet against each other and allow your knees to become heavy over time, opening the hips and the inner thighs. One last time, you can take a deep breath in, opening the chest, and the deep breath out, allowing the shoulders to become heavy. And then if your hips are open, you can place your hands under the knees, helping your legs close. And then place your hands under your head and lift your head up with your hands. And then you can crunch in to come into a seated position. So this was it for today. You have finished your first class. I hope you enjoyed. If it felt weird, tight, uncomfortable, if you couldn't do everything, then don't worry. That's why you're here. You're going to improve over time, and the program is going to repeat a lot of the things. And especially when the movements are new, if you've never done yoga before, then your body needs to get used to everything that it has to think of, how the different muscles move, how they are stretched. So it takes time. If you have any questions about whether you're doing a movement right, if you need any adaptations because you have injuries and because it doesn't feel good, then you can drop me a message if you have the premium package, and I'll be happy to help. So I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.